Right, so now we're going to step on to video number 2 from the Ministry of Health, Govt.nz. Right, let's have a look.
Dr. Lily Fraser, tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koto kapai. What the fuck? Okay, so I think we know where this is angled to focus on what particular type of people. Not saying anything though, but let's just work it out, shall we? Shall we, bro? What do you reckon? Pass it round the whānau. Fuck's sake. It's Maori Language Week. I've heard a mate of mine ringing me up saying he's sick to death of hearing everything on the news in Maori. He wasn't taught, neither was I. I don't understand it. Got nothing against the language, nothing against the people. But New Zealand, and people my age, coming up to 50, we were never taught Maori. My kids have been taught Maori, but they never retained it. They know what the colours are, you know, te kakariki, green. I mean, anyway, he rings me up and wants me to put a complaint through to somebody, God knows who. But yeah, it really does piss you off when clearly they are focusing their attacks on particular minorities. And yes, New Zealand only has 16% Maori population. And yet at the moment we're arguing whether or not we should actually formally change the title of the country from New Zealand to Aotearoa. Why that won't happen? Because it would cost a shitload in legislation changes. Everything is written as New Zealand, the territorial lands of New Zealand. They're not going to start putting Maori language in legalese for you, are they? Alright? So the ramifications of changing a country's name like that, unbelievable in the lines of legal statutes that would need to be changed. Because it's all focused on New Zealand. It doesn't say Aotearoa. They may put amendments in, but think of the amount of work it would take. Not going to happen. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I'm imparting to others. Alright guys, we're now going to be talking straight up with Dr. Lily Fraser, the Ministry of Health. 11,000 people have watched this video, and at least it's not a cartoon, so we've got to give them a point for that. And like fuck will I subscribe. But moving on, this is again Ministry of Health. Oh, and look, Ministry of Health have got 23.6 thousand subscribers. Better than the other cunts that released it. Who were the first people? Unite Against COVID-19. That didn't work out well for them, did it? Anyway, straight up with Lily Fraser. 4 minutes worth of information this time. Oh, almost 5. Let's have a listen, shall we?
Lily Fraser, tēnā koe. The new COVID-19 vaccines, what do I need to know? Talk to me how you've seen Māori. Do we tend to gravitate towards vaccinations? Is it something that we do?
Why would Māori have a reason not to get vaccinated?
What would your advice be to those whānau who are vulnerable, who are mistrustful with vaccinations?
As a health...
Here comes the crap. Fair enough questions. Interesting though.
provider, one of our big mahi is to make sure that we're actually having a kōrero out there and putting it out there around what we know, how the vaccines work, if people have fears or conspiracies or other...
Conspiracies? I don't know. I'm still waiting to see some facts being brought up, some, medical documentation saying how safe it is. I'm still waiting.
Wanga about the vaccines, that we actually have a really direct kōrero around where that information is.
For people that don't speak Maori, direct kōrero, in other words, a direct conversation. Okay.
Come from and try and dispel some of those myths that are out there. Our whole world has changed because of tēnei ngangara. We are so...
Because of the disease. Okay, no, the whole world has changed because of the way governments are reacting to the common flu. I mean, I had a mate that died of the bird flu many years ago when that came over to New Zealand. We didn't shut the whole country down. Clearly there were deaths. They didn't do this crap. And it's just this is just another strain. Except, you know, of course, Anthony and his little buddies went and mixed it up a bit more in Wuhan. But yeah.
Lucky to live in Aotearoa, and I think we've all felt that in the last year that, you know, he whenua pai tēnei, he whenua haumaru, te nuinga o te wā, ko te kaupapa nui ko te tangata. A vaccine is going to bring another way of life for us that we...
Another way of life. Yes, a vaccine most certainly will bring a new way of life. Papers, please. Passports. Not being able to exercise your freedoms or rights. Got a question. Does the COVID-19 Health Response Act, does that override our Bill of Rights? And I don't want to hear about section fucking 4 of the Bill of Rights either, saying that other laws can be made against it. They are supposed to be founding principles, your human rights, and it's not just New Zealand's Bill of Rights, it's the ICCPR, the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights as well. But they'll ignore that, especially section 17 where they attack a person's reputation and family life and privacy. But we'll move on.
We can start getting back to ngā āhuatanga o mua. People have their own personal reasons why they choose not to vaccinate. I think it's a good thing that in our country it is not compulsory to vaccinate, you know.
Because people have died from it, they can't make it compulsory for you to go and do something that might kill you.
I encourage people to vaccinate, but I think kai a koe toa ke mana motu hake, kai a koe te tikanga ki te whiriwhiri, ka pēhea tō tinana.
You have the right to decide what goes into your body. So we'll say that in Maori, okay? But it's a decision. So they're giving the guys a free will, but along comes the divide, the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Already, because New Zealand can't legislate mandatory vaccinations or are so shit scared to try it, they're going to now throw it onto the small business owners. Large businesses can handle litigation, but small businesses medically discriminating, they're going to go for a skate. Of course, the legislation will just be brought in to make everybody immune from prosecution when they're mandating health acts. Perhaps that's next. Who knows? I'm expecting the military on the streets next week or so. We'll see. I know.
I worry about the speed at which the vaccine was made.
What
So you fucking should.
should give me the confidence that this vaccine's going to be okay for me and my family?
Is it safe?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely been a big kōrero. So usually it takes
Discussion.
many years to develop a vaccine, and this has been done in a year. A lot of this knowledge is
No, it hasn't.
already known, you know, so even though the mRNA ones are completely new, they have been working on them for the last almost 2 decades, you know, so the technology was there. There was a big boost of funding. Where each step might have taken longer, usually they overlapped them all, so you still got all the information that you needed in a much shorter time frame. So no steps have been kind of shortcutted to be able
Bullshit.
to get it out quickly. Also in Aotearoa we have MedSafe, who assess every new drug and every new vaccine that comes into the country and make sure
Great. Is MedSafe going to be held legally liable for people dropping dead of something they said was safe? Let's ask them that question. Doubt we'll ever get a response.
it meets our own safety criteria.
Is there a place for tikanga in the rollout of the vaccine?
Yeah, I definitely believe there is. At the moment, I don't think there's any formal process in place, but it may be that some whare hauora want to do some kind of karakia when the first vaccine arrives in the clinic.
Honestly. So now they're jumping onto religion. Now we're going to get a special prayer in the health clinics just to get those sorts of people in. Oh, I didn't think you're allowed to have church gatherings. Or perhaps it's just one person and they'll record it for everyone else to watch. You know, have a choreo about that one.
Might be that when you're getting ready for your own immunisation, maybe that karakia plays a role in that. But I think, you know, a big part of tikanga is actually the way that we manaaki tangata and kōrero kanohi ki te kanohi. And so I think
In other words, face-to-face discussions so they can then convince you and con you with absolutely no medical evidence that it's safe for you.
I think that the way that we conduct ourselves when we are giving the immunisation is really important as well.
Konya.
In 1918, the Spanish flu, when it came, like, it decimated whole communities. And I think for...
How the fuck does he know? Was he around in 1918, or is he going by secondary or third hand or multiple repeated parroted information? He wasn't fucking there. He doesn't know anything about the 1980 flu just as much as I fucking don't. And records, and as we've proven many times in the past, history is only the narration of the person who's noting it. Alright?
Or like a lot of the whānau who
Why,
live
it's his
in rural
story.
settings, especially growing from up north, they were really scared that this could turn out the same.
Is there a plan of how those...
Really scared. They were fearful. Why? Because government uses fear to coerce. Fuck, I'll take a little detour here, eh? Let's look up, this is Black's Law Dictionary. Okay, let's look up what terrorism is, shall we? We'll look it up, because I'm pretty sure I've done this before, but we'll have a look, just for the sheer fucking fun of it. Okay. Terrorism, act of terrorism, means an activity that involves a violent act or an act dangerous to human life that is a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or any state, or that would be a criminal violation if committed within the jurisdiction of the United States or of any state, and appears to be intended. So they're intending to put fear through us. So yeah, that's one step of intimidation. Oh, look at this, they've given us another one. Number 1, to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. Do I need to say anything? And number 2, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion. Don't think anybody's influencing the government. I think it's the government doing the influencing, dare I say coercion. And 3, to affect the conduct of a government by assassination or kidnapping. Wow, they already killed people. But we're not going to go into that one. And unfortunately, no, New Zealand's Butterworth law does not define terrorism. So I did look. We'll move on. And in case anybody wants to believe that I don't have a brain in my head, there's me MRIs, fuck nuts. I've got proof I've got a brain, where's yours? And I know I'm sounding a little bitchy and grumpy today, but my gut's giving me grief. Moving on.
communities will be supported.
I think there's going to be lots of approaches. So there will be your usual GP practice to get it. There will be drop-in centres set in the community. And there will also be mobile units. If you know of a rōpū or a whānau who might be isolated, who may not have engagement with a health centre, put your hand up for those mobile clinics to come out to you.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
I have many
Yes, they can
vulnerable
drive out,
whānau
yeah.
who have trust issues with leadership, who are always looking for some kind of trusted side. Kia.
And why do they have no trust in leadership? I wonder.
Yeah.
Definitely in the last year with everything that's happened, I think that the COVID-19 site is still my first go-to because it really has the up-to-date information around our
Bullshit.
approach in Aotearoa to COVID-19, and definitely the immunisation information is there with links to other sites that have already been reviewed in their way.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
E pari ana ngā tai o mihi kia koe rā I te tākuta e tākuta lali. I tō whakatūwhera mai I a koe me o mātauranga kia mātou. Te hunga e pūkoko nei.
I'll go away from here just being a lot more knowledgeable now, so thank you.
A lot more knowledgeable. She didn't fucking share anything apart from an opinion. I never saw any facts getting pulled out round her chair.
Orina tēnei kai mahi rā, kia koe.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koto, katoa. Fucking my God. Did you see any information, any medical facts being brought out? Or was it just regurgitation of a fucking theory? I've not seen any facts. Oh, whoops. I forgot to see. I'm going to dislike that one. But let's have a look and see if these people, obviously Unite Against COVID-19 doesn't give a fuck about your comments. Let's see if the Ministry of Health is interested in hearing from the public and getting some feedback. Shall we? Oh, Oh, now that's disappointing. It's almost like it's a mainstream news channel putting their shit on YouTube, really, isn't it? Oh, none. Oh, and strangely enough, we're not seeing how many people like or dislike this. I wonder why they're keeping that hidden, Ministry of Health. I thought you'd like the public having trust and transparency, trust and confidence. You haven't got mine. Moving on.